What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of On the Break. We have a good one coming to you. Today, we are continuing our series of videos for the team previews. And the next team that we have up are the Utah Jazz. So, Trevon, the Utah Jazz finished at 37 and 45 last year. They did not make the play-in tournament, but they kind of surprised a lot of people last year. They got out to a really quick start, and Lauri Markkanen showed up on the scene, made it to his first All-Star game last year. So this upcoming season, what do you think about the Utah Jazz?
Yeah, this last season was definitely a surprise as far as how hot they came out. They were at top of the West for I can't remember how many months, but it was a good stretch of time. And looking at the offensive rating at the conclusion of last season, they finished seventh out of the whole league. So they were on fire offensively. And as you mentioned, a big part of that was due to Lauri Markkanen's All-Star season. He showed his array of offensive skill with his size and combination of skill and IQ. That was definitely one of the driving forces for Utah Jazz to just catch people off guard. I feel like they had a free flowing type game mixed with a good system. Coach Will Hardy is proven to be a very good coach. Seems to really connect with the players and get them to play their best brand of basketball. They did have a lot of trades last season, trading Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt to the Lakers. Also, moving off of Mike Conley, getting him to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So their intentions last season was a little weird. You didn't know if they were going to tank or if they were actually trying to win some games. But I just think their goal is to let the young players get reps. They also have Colin Sexton. They have Taylor Horton Tucker. Kelly Olynyk is a veteran. A lot of pieces that you wouldn't really think of if you just saw this roster compared to the other 29 teams in the league. But they have players. This season, I wouldn't expect them to have that same hot start, but I do expect them to actually take those steps toward trying to build a concrete roster that they plan on moving forward with. They have a very good draft pick that I like in Keontae George. He showed a very good offensive skill set at Baylor. He's going to bring that shot creation over to Utah. I would think that he's going to get a good amount of opportunities. He played very good in the summer league. So it's a lot of promise for them looking forward for this franchise. When you
Oh,
have
yeah.
a guy like Danny Ainge, who you know his goal is to win, he is going to make moves with all those picks that he has acquired and put together a roster that he feels can win now. And I feel like last season was just a big sort of tryout trying to understand what they have so they can understand which steps to take next. And Lauri Markkanen with his play, Walker Kessler also has shown that he is a valuable piece. The NBA is pretty scarce with big men. Just finding a quality big man that may be a backup starter, however they want to go forth with him. I feel like that they have found the pieces that they want to move forward with, and in this continuous rebuild, I feel like they have kind of gotten a sense of direction of where they want to go, which is all you want for a franchise in their position. But for next season, I'm expecting them to not make the play-in. They could have an opportunity, but I'm expecting them to be a ninth or 10th play-in team at best. But if they don't make the play-in, I'm not expecting them to be there.
You brought up some really good points, especially with them looking to get a solid roster that they can depend on moving forward. Throughout last season, after they traded Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, you even brought up Mike Conley. It still seemed like that they were still looking to make moves or make improvements here or there. And it even came up when they traded for John Collins, who is a really talented player as well. I think he can fit in well with a lot of teams because I think he's a really good player that you can plug in wherever you need him. And you even mentioned Keontae George. I was really impressed with him in Baylor in terms of scoring the basketball. I think he can play in a lot of different systems just because of his ability to score the ball in a lot of different ways. On the ball, he can catch and shoot it as well. So he's a guy that I'm going to be looking out for. I'm not too sure how many opportunities he's going to get. I think he's going to get opportunities because he is really good. I think Keontae George has a high ceiling, definitely as a scorer. I am really interested in seeing how Keontae George develops alongside Lauri Markkanen. I believe Lauri Markkanen is going to have another really big year this year and continue to improve upon where he was last year. And then they also have Walker Kessler, who was a really good rim protector. A lot of people thought that when Rudy Gobert left the Utah Jazz, that their interior defense and their paint protection would fall off, but that was not the case with Walker Kessler. They have players like Jordan Clarkson, who has always been their scorer. They have a lot of really good young talent there, and I believe that they're going to continue to move forward with that and like you said, possibly make some moves. But I think they have a really nice young core there that they can develop and bring along. I think it's a pretty good team. Will they make the play in? I don't know, because this year they are not going to catch people off surprise, and already we're expecting the OKC Thunder to continue to improve. A lot of people think the New Orleans Pelicans can do even better than they did last year if Zion can stay healthy. Dallas didn't even make the play in last year. A lot of people are expecting them to be better. So it's going to be really competitive in the West. I think that they have a shot to make it to the play in, but if I'm looking at the standings right now and kind of projecting forward, I think that they might be on the outside looking in, but they definitely have a chance though.
Yeah, the West after last season kind of has us in a frenzy as far as not really knowing what could happen because it was so unexpected. We didn't really think any of those teams would be in the positions that they were necessarily, or if they were struggling, we thought they would eventually get out of that struggle. But last year proved the teams that had the best season last year ended up where they needed to be. So, but this year we do expect it to fall back to some sort of what's the word? To come back to some
Normalcy
sort of normalcy that
or
we would expect. And a lot of changes happen mid-season, throughout the season, trades and just chemistry issues. But we would expect for a lot of those things to be sorted out. So this year, I can feel a little bit more comfortable in projecting where teams will be. And the Utah Jazz, unfortunately, have not cracked that spot for me, especially in the Western Conference, which I do feel like is still the tougher conference, as we saw how competitive last year was, even within all that chaos. So I do feel like they have a promising future. Like I said, a guy like Danny Ainge does know what he's doing. Some people kind of criticize him because they felt like there could have been some stuff done better with his tenure in Boston. But at the end of the day, he knows what he's doing. And he's acquired a lot of picks once again. And he has found one of his franchise guys and Lauri Markkanen and other young pieces that they'll move forward with.
yeah, that is if there's one thing that Danny Ainge is really really good at, and you know, as a GM, he's built a lot of really good and great teams, so he does a lot of really good things well. But if there's one thing that I'm like, man, that guy does a great job at, is getting picks. Man, he gets
Yeah.
a whole bunch of picks, and usually he does really well with them. You know, picking Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum back in Boston. He's the one that made the trade that traded KG and
KG,
Paul Pierce to Brooklyn to get those picks that ended up turning into Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and that crew there. And then also the big trade that happened this past offseason when they traded Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Jazz got a haul of
the big
stuff.
steal.
Yeah. So Danny Ainge, he's a wizard at that stuff. So, you know, and I'm pretty
And
sure that they'll do a lot of good things with the picks they got.
And that's what you need to do, especially with a small market like Utah. Nobody's coming to Utah as their main destination. And Boston, you could have argued that they didn't need to do that as much just because they're such a historic franchise. But this is actually what you need when you're at a small market such as Utah. So this can become very promising for Utah fans. I feel like this is something to be excited about.
Yeah, most definitely. And also it's funny because the Utah Jazz and the OKC Thunder, they had picks for years or something like that. That
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy to think how many picks those two teams have within the next definitely couple years. I'll be seeing like memes that say like the OKC Thunder and Utah Jazz getting ready for the 2030 class or something like that,
yeah.
or 2040 or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. But
Those kids are
you
like
know,
12 years old right now.
yeah, something like that. But but it is funny. It is definitely funny seeing those memes. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, the Utah Jazz, looking forward to seeing how they develop. Not exactly sure where they will fall in terms of if they will make the play in or not. I'm probably looking at it now, probably betting that they will be on the outside looking in. Definitely still competitive, but right there, probably missing the play in.
I agree.